I received a question about healthy ways to process rage because some people have a harder time processing rage and anger because it is something we have been taught to suppress or hide or to be seen as something negative or bad. But I want to start out by saying it's really important to understand that rage and anger are emotions that are there to tell us something doesn't feel right. But the thing is it's really important that we don't project it onto other people and we actually sit with and process the rage and the anger so that we can understand what it wants to inform us about. And then once we have that information, once we have the anger and the rage under control and we've learned what it was teaching us, then we can go and address it with the other people, places, or things that created the experience. Obviously, given your circumstances, sometimes we get anger and rage about collective world experiences that we don't necessarily have anyone that we can address to naturally or directly, but you can still use this process to temper, to calm yourself, to find solutions and supports for yourself, which ultimately is one of the most powerful things that you can do. So we're just going to jump into these tips. And the thing is it depends on, are you in the middle of a rage moment? You want to get yourself to a safe space alone as quickly as possible if you can. But if this is also something that you're processing past rage from maybe childhood or past relationships, or maybe you just even exited something that was unhealthy or toxic and you're now free and alone, but you have all of those emotions that had been suppressed or depressed, um, repressed, even dissociated from, come to the surface because now you have the safe space to allow those to process. So, the tips I'm going to share are really about getting yourself to a safe space where you can do this in private. Okay. And with all of these things, one of the most key important pieces of this is allowing yourself to be completely uncensored, which may feel uncomfortable. It might even feel weird because I'm talking about kicking, punching, air kickboxing, screaming, yelling, cursing, all of the things that you would do your best not to project onto another person are the things you're going to let your body express. But if this feels uncomfortable for you, like it did for me, because I really didn't wanted to make sure I wasn't harming anyone, but that included not harming myself. And the emotions, the energies, they need to come out of our bodies because when we hold them in, they hurt us from the inside out. Okay. But we don't want to hurt ourselves or anyone else. So you can set the intention or a prayer, however you resonate, that you're not directing the anger or the words at anyone specific. You're simply allowing them to come out of your body, to come out of your cells, so you're not harming yourself with that rage and that anger and that hurt inside. Okay. This is important for your own well being so that you're not storing it. The idea is to let it out so you can clear it, you can recycle it. And once you let the rage and the anger out, you can start to get more clear around, okay, what is this really coming from and what can I address? So, like I said, you can get yourself to a quiet space or any place that's alone. Let yourself scream it out, yell it out, speak it physically, and acting it out. Like I said, like air kickboxing, punching a pillow. All right. Get in your car if it feels safe and aligned. Go drive to the highway, the freeway, and let yourself yell it out. Let your car, your vehicle be your own private diary. Let it come out. Essentially, the idea is you can write it out. You can write it out again, uncensored. When you're done, you can throw it out, you can flush it, you can burn it, you can erase all traces of it. It's more so about getting it out. Okay. And again, like I said, this is going to be uncensored. So, most likely, things you wouldn't necessarily say to a person, they might even be things that you don't fully feel. And that might be part of it, where you feel angry and frustrated and hurt, but then you also feel love and care. Like you feel attacked, but you can see the other person's side of things. So this isn't even about judging yourself. You still may have different parts of you that feel different things about the experience, but this is about allowing yourself to process the rage and the anger so you can express in a more clear, appropriate way with the person to communicate what's actually going on in a way that can allow you to bridge into the positive things that you're also feeling. Okay. And again, when you're writing it out uncensored, even you can write letters to the person that you will never send. You may actually find that you may even want to do this a few times. You might find you do it once and you feel a little better, but there's still more in there. And so maybe the next day you write another letter, or maybe you start to realize that as you're letting the rage out, you're starting to be able to articulate what's actually got you upset, where you're actually feeling disrespected, why you feel triggered, why you feel angry. And so, as you get through the rage, as you get through the anger and the hurt, you start to get down to the truth of why that's happening. And that is the diamonds in the rough. That is the diamonds that you're searching for when you're digging through the dirt of the anger and the rage. Because each layer that you're allowing to come out, you're essentially clearing off the dust. And the diamonds are the realizations of what it is that's actually bothering you. And by the time you write it out, yell it out, scream it out, process it out, now you're clearer to actually communicate the facts about what is going on with you, why you feel what you feel, and even offering a suggestion of resolution or solutions. And maybe even during this time, as you're processing, you're dropping in standards and boundaries to create a solution for yourself so it doesn't continue to happen. Of course, this can all depend on your experience, but this is a really important process. These are some tips that I have literally used for myself many, many, many times. It's suggestions that I offer to my clients in my sessions. You've probably even heard me talk about some of it here on my videos. But most importantly, you're not judging yourself in this process. You're also, again, not censoring yourself in this process. This is about getting it out, acknowledging the anger, the frustration, the hurt, and the pain, acknowledging that it's there for a reason, and then going looking for the diamond of what it's trying to tell you so that you can actually find yourself a solution versus suffering in the anger and the rage and the hurt again and again. Okay. So I hope that this is helpful. I'm going to share a few more things. Another one, if you don't want to scream it and yell it or kick it out, you could draw it. You could even paint. This is a way that I found to be quite powerful, is like just spirit painting, getting out a canvas and some paints, maybe not even looking at what colors you're picking, just intuitively and instinctively grabbing the paints and letting it come out on the canvas. This is not about it looking pretty. This is just about getting something expressed on the board. And then you might step back and feel like, whoa, okay, I don't really like how that looks, or that's a lot of emotion on there. And then you leave it. And then as you calm down and you feel better, you go back and you paint over it. What are you feeling now? And you could try that a few times, and eventually you may find that the paintings calm down. I actually discovered this by accident, wanting to paint during a time of stress. And the things that came out of me were what I was feeling, but I didn't really resonate with it or I didn't understand it. In fact, one time I did a painting and I put it away for almost a year. And it was interesting because what I was dealing with at that time was connected to another person, a relationship, and we didn't speak for like a year. And then when they came back and we started having conversations, I pulled the painting out and I started painting over it again. And I believe during that process, I did like 5 different iterations. And by the time I got to the last one, it was like calming, peaceful waters, where the first one was almost like bloody waters. And then it just kept evolving through the process. Okay. I'm using myself as an example because, like I said, these are all things I have used and have had very powerful results. So the thing is, when you are in the car and you might yell it out, you might find that as you are yelling, and if it's not a car at home, if you have quiet space or private space where you can do it, find wherever. But actually, like that freedom to yell it out and let the voice fully express. I know this one takes some people time. A lot of times people say, like, I don't know if I can do that yet. I get it. Build up to it. Start with the writing, start with the talking, whatever works for you. But you might find as you really honor your process and you honor your righteous rage and your anger, that you find a lot of healing within the yelling. In fact, what's happened to me sometimes is like I'll be yelling and then all of a sudden it like gets to a point where it's done and I just start laughing and I just calm down and totally feel that release. And then I just like listen to some music or relax and my whole body feels like it's in a healing state. So, yes, whichever one of these works for you, whatever you do, again, no judgment, uncensored, and give yourself space and grace. You may be able to do it in one sitting. It may be over several days, several weeks, or like that one thing I told you, even a whole year. But I was still able to process other things. It was just that one topic. So know that there's no set rules or specific timelines that this needs to be completed. You know what I mean? Be gentle with yourself. Allow the process. Once you start dropping into it and you see the results of it, it becomes really supportive. One time I went through this with a business experience, and a woman was actually quite disrespectful to me. This is years ago, like 10 years ago. And it triggered me because it also triggered things back to my childhood. But I gave myself space, just like I told you. I processed it. I wrote. In fact, it was over like 3 or 4 or 5 days. And it wasn't just about her, it helped me process other childhood stuff too. And in the process, when I actually finally responded to her, my response was very simple and to the point. I didn't give a lot of detail. I didn't offer her a full explanation. I just said that I wasn't interested. And then when she came back and asked what had happened, when I knew she was actually open to receiving what I wanted to share, I broke it down for her in a few facts. I let her know what that created and where I stood and what my boundary was. And she responded back with a brand new offer. and an apology. And that for me at that time was really, really supportive and helpful because I got to walk the whole process and actually have a very positive result at the end. And that experience gave me more than just the gift of going through the process and then sharing the facts on the other side. Again, it helped me process a bunch of childhood stuff too. So when we're going through these processes, it might feel like a lot up front because you're building a new muscle and you're training yourself to be comfortable feeling emotions like rage and anger that you've been taught to suppress for a very long time. So, again, give yourself space and grace to go through the process. And over time, it will get a lot easier. In fact, over time, most likely you will know, like, oh, wow, I need to go find a space and let this out. Or when I have some time, I got to make space to be uncensored with myself. And it's really a beautiful feeling to take that personal responsibility for processing your emotions. Also, the self loving thing by setting the boundaries, discovering what it is that you need. And that really is a portion of that self love triangle that I created, where we're focusing on personal responsibility, healthy boundaries, and self love. And taking responsibility for the parts we can be responsible for instead of going into victim mode, but also not sitting in suffering and silence and emotional pain, or ultimately over time, suppressed rage and anger can turn into physical pain, right? And those are the things that we want to unravel. And it's very powerful, again, to not only take responsibility for processing your emotions and your rage, but then also being able to go back to the person and to be able to calmly articulate what it is that you actually need and the respect you actually deserve without an attachment. Like, you have your boundaries. So if you set your boundary, they can choose to do it or not. And that choice is going to decide if you participate with them or not. So ultimately, it's giving you the information to know how to care for yourself. Therefore, the anger, the rage has done its job by informing you that something didn't feel right, and you allowing yourself to process the rage and the anger and retrieve your diamond. Now you have solutions, and now you will know how to move forward based on how they respond. Okay? I hope this was helpful. I'm going to leave it there. If you have any other questions like this, let me know. And maybe we'll do a series of videos connected to questions that you guys have. But for now, this is it. You have a beautiful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you soon. All my information will be in the pinned comment, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Take care.